required to participate in that. And at that particular competition, they're presenting their proposed research project, and they're being judged on their scientific knowledge, their ability to create and present a poster, on their speaking skills. And so there are a lot of good skills that come out of the research program, even for the kid who takes it for 1 year, because something I do want to mention is when a kid signs up for the research program, they've only signed up for a 1-year commitment. At the end of that first year, they have to be invited back.
Oh, I didn't realize
that. They have to be invited back. Usually when a student has had a difficult first year, a lot of that has to do with their inability to secure a mentor. And that's again where I want to thank the foundation members for coming in, because that's a place where I feel my program is weak and I do need the support and the help, and I thank you for that, as I've said. So, the competition to me is important because it's a culminating event. And for the sophomore student, we have that particular competition. Now for the kids who come back and they've done their research, they want to present. And so there is the WRJSHS competition, there's an iSweep competition, there's Intel that people know about, there's the Westchester Science and Engineering Fair, which is one of the largest local fairs in the nation. I mean, there are 390 students who compete there at that particular competition. And so there are a number of different venues for kids to present their work. And to me it's very important because there has to be a finish line someplace, and this is the finish line you're trying to get to. You're trying to present your research at these particular competitions, and if your work is good enough, and if you have judges who had a good breakfast and liked you that day, sometimes you move on. I've had students whose work has been stellar and they haven't won, and I've had kids whose work has been not quite as good and they've gone on. So it is a little bit subjective, but I still think it's an important aspect of the course.
Yeah, of course they learn overall their general sort of quality of learning in this whole process.
I also think that it's important for these students to do these competitions because they can present in one of two ways. It's either a poster presentation or a PowerPoint presentation. And I think that those are both great skills for anybody who wants to enter a science field to have, because that's how scientific research is usually presented in the real world. So if they go on to become scientists, as any researcher will tell you, you usually have to present your research as either a poster or at a conference or as a PowerPoint presentation. So I think that not only is it great that it's a culminating event and it gives them something to shoot for as an end goal, but it's also a really good skill that these students get coming out of this program.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the presentations and the posters that the summer students made at the different displays. Particularly, I think the tools, I understand the foundation has made some contribution to help the students in preparing the posters.
We have purchased we've been able to purchase a color printer for printing out the large posters, and I think that's
very
something the foundation was very happy to provide to the high school.
Really help the students.
Right.
I wanted to comment on some of the skills that the students learn. You mentioned about the importance of competitions, and there's no question that that it's important to have a finish line in almost anything. And I think when the students first enter, they're very geared toward the competition, and wow, if I could win something, wouldn't that be great for college applications and everything else. But I think what I've seen over the 3 years the 2 years that they've completed, that my two children have been in the program, is the incredible skill set that you learn through this process, and the competitions are sort of the final culmination of all
jewel
of this.
on the crown, so to speak.
Right. That's a nice way to put it. some of the skills starting early on in 10th grade are simply reading a scientific article. How do you take appropriate notes and capture the essence of a 9-page article?
Right.
And how do you articulate that to someone else, like Mr. Horace or Mr. Malia, and not go on and on and on, right? The process of trying to find a mentor requires making contacts, usually to professionals who are hard to reach, and having to speak to those people, and again, being able to articulate what you're looking for in a concise and understandable manner. As the students move on, the whole process of bringing together your work, figuring out what's methods, what's results, and what's conclusion, and then being able to present that publicly, that process provides tremendous learning skills. And I would go so far as to say that those skills go way beyond a career in science.
Yes, that's definitely so.
And in particular for public speaking, I've seen how the students grow in how they present their work. And just simple things like you make a poster and you go to speak about it. How do you transition from one section to another and hold someone's interest and help them to follow you? Because these students have been immersed in their work for a long time, and some of them are immersed in laboratories where there's a lot going on. And sometimes it's hard to actually bring it back to the basics of what you're doing and where it rests in the realm of this area of work. And of course, the final skill, I think, in presentation is being able to respond to unanticipated questions,
Right.
and knowing your work well enough to be able to answer questions. And that's very hard, I think, for people at any level.
Sure.
But the fact that these students receive the opportunity to begin to develop some of those skills, frankly, I think all of that is worth taking the course, forgetting what your project is.
Yeah, I think this is the type of thing that we should probably let the parents of the community sort of be aware. And this process is not only channeled to the science sort of domain, but all the general sort of learnings is very, very useful for any career. Verbal communication is almost no matter what you do has to be a part of you, to succeed. Right?
It's another facet to their education
Right.
that's not available in a didactic setting. And it may turn out that the student that participates may find out that they don't want to do science
Yeah,
research.
even that's okay.
And
I
that's
mean,
Right, and that's
absolutely
fine.
fine. They've been exposed to it. They know what they don't like at that point, and that's okay too.
But the skill set they walk
The
away
skill set,
with
Right.
is
that's why we
valuable.
That's why we
in
encourage
any
it.
any field that they choose to go in.
Absolutely, yeah. The ability to speak in public, the ability to investigate, to research,
Right.
to be able to communicate with people in a technical field is invaluable, whether they decide to make a science or mathematics or academic
right.
career or not.
Yeah.
It is an invaluable experience, and as I said, I speak from having done that myself.
Right. I can tell you. I mean, certainly. Maybe we could now go to the program content itself. In other words, in the school, what general areas that have attracted students to sort of participate? Although you have an open-ended sort of an invitation, any area, anything you want to do, it's up to you. But do we have sort of a past history to tell us what areas that interest students most?
Well, historically, most kids are interested in biology, medicine, and health. And I think that's primarily because the way the science sequence is set up at Somers High School, kids are just finishing
curriculum,
their
yeah.
biology course at the end of 9th grade, and they like biology, and they're moving on in science, and so most kids are interested in that. We make a very conscious effort, Mr. Maley and I, to get kids to go into other fields if we can, whether it be computer science or mathematics or physics or earth science, because there's only so many biology mentors in the area.
Correct.
And what is actually interesting is in Westchester County there are probably more pharmaceutical companies, medical companies that are actually doing research than there are physics or computer science companies. And so that has helped. But most kids come in, they're interested in biology, but I'm a chemist at heart, and I keep telling kids chemistry rules and try to get them to go into the physical sciences a bit more. Some kids are interested in behavioral sciences, and behavioral science projects in high school setting is difficult because you have a hard time finding a sample set, and the permissions that are involved are kind of difficult to do. So a lot of biology.
Right. But nowadays, of course, technology advanced so much that the research tools, even in behavior science, is available to you. You can use survey tools, for example, to reach out 100,000 people. In the past, I mean, it's impossible.
It is interesting because about 8 years ago I had a young man that wanted to do a project, and he wanted to use the computer to collect the data, essentially do a survey.
Right.
And back then everyone, no, this is not possible. It's not legitimate science. Where now, with the power of the computer, you can reach out to a lot of people, and with the use of statistics, you can get a pretty valid data set if you run it through the right statistical tools. And so the computer has changed science research tremendously as to what kids can do.
Right. So in Westchester, where Somers in, and we want to reach out for mentors, we have computer companies like IBM around. We should be able to really make the company or the professionals aware this high school science research program is significant, and particularly with tools now available, you do not have to have physical labs in some biology or some other experiment. You have to go to a physical lab. Here, between two computers, you can work with anybody. You can work with somebody in Moscow if you able to contact somebody, right?
All this is true, but one thing that's very true about high school students is they need the personal contact. I mean, yes, I agree that the computer can work for a certain number of kids, but most students, they want the face-to-face contact. They want to have a conversation, and again, I think that the computer can
provide you a
supplement
Skype
that
session easily.
Yes, right? I mean, we have kids Skype all the time. We have kids communicate all the time through email, but it's that face-to-face contact that I think is really important, and the computer cannot replace that aspect. For a certain percentage of kids, a very small percentage of kids, it's sufficient, but most kids, it needs to be face-to-face.
Right.
You were mentioning about IBM earlier. IBM this past year has actually started a program like many other institutions around have, where they're recognizing the need to allow high school students access to science, and so they've actually started a program this past year.
That's very good. Yeah. Another thing I want to suggest to you people to think about is, as a foundation, whether actually in high school it's advantageous to set up a science research laboratory. Now, this laboratory doesn't have to be your chemistry. I mean, it certainly could include, but in general, in a sense, it's sort of a partially virtual lab, partially physical lab, partially, as students gathering, as they have physical contact, to sort of solidify this program in some way, so that we have a home base, so to speak. Well, what do you think about that?
Well, we do have students who do research in the high school. This past year, we had a student who was doing research on worms, and he conducted all of his research in one of the biology classrooms with the help of one of the biology teachers. We have a student this year who's interested in designing a gasifier that's efficient and using alternative fuels for it for third world countries.
Right.
She's been doing her research in the school. She's been using the hoods in the chemistry classrooms to conduct her research. So you don't need, a huge physical lab that you have to go to. We have students who, one of the students that I can think of off the top of my head has been taking the train down to the city 5 days a week this summer and doing research in one of the major hospitals.
Yeah. No, I don't think I mean a big physical building or lab, but it's like any other research institution. You always have a namesake. You have a center of something. You have an institute of something. It's more a symbolic sort of a presence of Somers research, science research, where you have certainly a few computers and networks and so on. You could, help the program in many ways, generally in the administration sense or in the student interaction sense, or interact with the world. That's what I mean by it.
Well, I think that the classrooms where the students currently work is really that center right now. I mean, there are many computers in that classroom, and quite frankly, I think having the new HP printer kind of
attract people together.
Really it starts to establish that. I mean, that printer is of the same quality as the printer over at the medical school where I am. I mean, this is, I think having some of those resources
put together.
And I'm sure if we sat down, we could think of other resources that we could use. But I think the geographic hub of the program already exists.
Good. That's really
but
good.
But that certainly could be
enriched a little.
With some other resources.
Right. So how many foundation members now you have?
I'm not sure of the exact number. I would say consistently coming to the meetings is about
10 to 12.
10 to 12 perhaps, yeah. But we're looking for more people to participate. Everyone has a busy schedule. Not everyone can attend all the meetings. We try to meet almost every month.
Right.
And plan how we're going to attract mentors and give the students an opportunity to be able to seek out mentors. We're looking for more people to participate in the foundation. We're looking for more mentors.
Right.
Now, we talked about the website and how it has information for students and for mentors, but on the website, somersscienceresearch.com, it also has a spot for people who are interested in becoming a foundation member. So if anybody watching this program is interested in more information, or for signing up for the email list, or finding out when the meetings are going to be.
Again, that's Somers Science Research.com?
Correct.
Okay.
And I also want to say that the school district has been very supportive of our foundation, and I believe that they're also linked on their main
this
website.
Definitely it's a must, Ralph, any of the sort of future events or dates or anything that you people think that we should have tell people look out for that is related to the science research?
Well, we're starting the school year, and so the competition schedule is beginning. The first competition of the year is the Intel competition, and
when is that?
Well, the Intel competition has a deadline where it's a paper submission, and the deadline is approximately November 15th. It varies a little bit from year to year.
I see.
The first real event that we have going on in the high school is we have, with the help of the foundation, this is another thing that they support us a lot with, is we actually have a practice night before one of our bigger competitions. And we talk down the road a ways. The competition is in March, and so the practice night is in February. But we need parents who have some scientific background. If you could just come in for that night
as judge.
Well, as people to listen to students present their posters and ask them questions about their work and offer them suggestions, because the first competition is the Westchester Science and Engineering Fair, and that is a poster format where students have about 10 minutes to present their science research. And so with the help of the foundation last year, we set up a practice night where we've got teachers to come in and parents to come in, but as the program grows, to where you've got 40 kids there, you need more than 25 judges so that...
Yeah, I participated.
Yes.
How busy that place
More
would be.
than 2 nights, more than one night.
Yeah, so I mean...
And a lot of the, I'm sorry to
Go.
interrupt, but a lot of the parents that have participated in those sessions are professionals that have themselves been in opportunities to present posters and abstracts and PowerPoint presentations. So we were able not only to ask questions about the content, but also to give them guidance in terms of how to present, what type of questions they might expect to be asked, how to respond to certain questions. So I think that's been very helpful. And as I said, we're still looking for more people to help participate because, as we said, the program's continuing to grow, and we need more assistance.
Right. And I assume that you have reached out to the community through other means, like newspapers and letters to the general public?
Well, we have done some contact. We need to do more. The newspaper is actually one of the next things that we're trying to get done, but again, everyone has a life aside from Science Research Foundation, and so
Yeah.
it is something that will get done this year. And you know, part of the reason we're here today is again for some community outreach to say, you know, we would like your help if you have the skill set and the time and the interest. We'd love to have you come and help us.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope, you know, this program in general is aired in Westchester County and Putnam County in various sort of cities, as south as New Rochelle, north as Brewster or Carmel or someplace like that. Unfortunately, is that the date and hour and channel of the airing is sort of varies, so it's very hard for me to tell people, say, well, watch channel something. So you need to tune in your local cable companies, like in Putnam is Comcast, and Westchester is Cablevision. So in those channels, there is a channel dedicated to public access. That's the term. The public access is actually a channel that granted to general public to use to broadcast, including this facility of you know, video production is, you know, granted based on a Telecommunication Act, a law that is passed in 1992. Any monopoly of communication, in this case cable, has to make available the communication channels and the facilities for citizens to air these kind of public interest. You know, fortunately, personally, I sort of leaped on this opportunity. I actually make this program nearly 10 years now. I enjoy it because I feel that I am serving a purpose, and I do get people that call me out and, you know, see out of nowhere say, oh, I watched you before and so on, and certain things of interest. And I believe this program, the science research program, can be, you know, sort of aired many times. I hope I will do that throughout these areas to you know, serve your purpose, to reach out for researchers to join, you know, as a mentor, or even in general, parents to be a part of the research foundation and help out.
We appreciate you having us, or giving us the opportunity to describe what our program's about and our foundation and program, and I'm glad that you're able to provide the time for us to do so.
Well, it's my pleasure, and we probably have still a few minutes left, and we'd like to sort of guide into the next session. We'd like to invite students who participated in this program and tell us a little bit, you know, about this in a more personal way. So maybe you teachers can introduce a little bit about, you know, students that already in the program, and maybe, you know, the students will join us in discussion next.
The students who will be in the next segment of the program think very well. And the reason I say that is ask them any question you want about science research, and they'll tell you the truth. And I think that they've had opportunities in this course that they wouldn't have had otherwise. it would be interesting one day if you were to do a third segment to talk to graduates of the program.
Good idea.
To see, you know, what effect it had, I think, on their careers, because I think that it does have the ability to change people's worlds.
Oh yeah. If you can correlate from you know, science research in high school to a scientist that are now be sort of well known, that would be certainly a testimony of the program.
Well, a lot of scientists have gone through programs like
Yes,
this. A lot
exactly.
haven't. But what is wonderful about this program is it gives kids a taste of what science is, and I'm also overly impressed by the number of female students that participate in the program. I mean, historically, when women have gotten to college, whether they were good in science and math in high school or not, they didn't pursue those careers in college, and I think that that's beginning to change, and I think that this
Excellent,
course allows that to happen more so.
All right. Well, I think you know, time is running out. We when you have a real good discussion, time just goes by very quickly. We will get ready for our next session. Hopefully, we get some students join us. And I really appreciate your participating in this program. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for
thank
having
you
us.
for coming. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, good. This is it.